What's good, people? Welcome back to the channel. We haven't been around for a while. We thought we'd wait for some breaking news. And to be fair, as far as Arsenal are concerned, there's been quite a lot of action when it comes to the transfer window, as far as Arsenal are concerned. And today there's been other breaking news as well, which we can touch on. I am here with Lee Judges. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic, Dan. Fantastic. I'll tell you what, not gonna lie. We was talking about coming on last week for no, because it was all gonna be like a bit negative, wasn't it, and all that. Like, what difference a week makes, you know what I mean? But
what a difference 24 hours makes at one stage.
Well, yeah. Even that. I'm gonna be really honest. I'm relieved. I'm relieved that we've got him, because I think we needed this. The club needed this.
Yeah.
The supporters needed it. Edu and Arteta needed it. And I think it is relief, and I think that it sends a message out to everybody that Arsenal are serious. You know what I mean? Like, it's what big clubs do. It's what clubs do. And I'm pleased with it. Happy. As Donna says, sing it, Lee. Rice, baby. I love it.
Rice, baby. Yes, everyone's been singing it, man. It's class. It's class. It's great stuff. We're going to get into it. Also joining us tonight, of course, is Daniel Bailey. Daniel, what are you saying? Are you good, bro?
How's it going? Yeah, I'm really good. I've got to be honest. Last week I was a little bit nervous of whether we could pull this off, but I'm glad we pulled it off.
Never in doubt, Daniel. Never in doubt.
We seem to be making moves, and what's really pleasing is that we're getting them in before pre-season, which is as well. We're not leaving it till the last minute, which is really good.
Yeah, it's refreshing, and I've got to say, I'll start with you, Daniel, actually, because I did say this just to my mates. Isn't it refreshing to actually get a couple of deals over the line 2 weeks into the window instead of 2 days before it shuts? And I think that's so key. And I must say that as great as it is, I hope it don't stop there, because there's still so much more to do. But let's start with Declan Rice, because it is the one that everyone's talking about. We'll come to the other signings too, because Arsenal have been busy and are busy as we speak. And there's rumours that we might have another one coming in the door. So, Daniel, let's start with Declan Rice. You say you're happy. I think most Gooners are happy to have him in. Where do you stand on the price? Do you think Arsenal have overpaid? Are you happy that Arsenal have overpaid? Or do you think it's about right, seeing as this mad market at the moment is 100 million for everybody that you speak to now? What's your thoughts on this one?
Do you know what? I never thought I'd see the day that my club drops £105 million on a player. And I've got to be honest, I find it refreshing. I don't want to sit here and talk about whether he's worth that or not. But the fact that Arsenal were prepared to pay that, over the years we've heard about, Arsenal are penny pinchers. We're not going to spend this, and we've been fed all this. We have to make do with, second best. The fact that they have dropped £105 million on Declan Rice, I think it's brilliant. I think it's fantastic, and I think lots of people deserve credit for this. I think the Cronkies for stumping up the money. I think Edu deserves a lot of credit, and I think Arteta deserves a lot of credit. The Cronkies absolutely love Arteta, and I don't want to underestimate that, because they really love him. And if anyone was going to make them drop £100 million, is Arteta. So the fact that they've gone and done it, I think it's fantastic, Dan. I really do.
Yeah, likewise, man. And Lee, I've got to say, the one thing that I love about this, taking away the fact that I actually think Declan Rice is class, I love the fact that we've gone in with the money. What I like about it is actually he's the one that Arteta said all along, I really want him. And the club together have got together, it seems, and have just made it happen and said, we are going to back that. We're going to make sure this guy comes in. And when Man City did start flirting, I spoke to you only yesterday or the day before about it, saying I'm a little bit worried. I wouldn't be worried if it was Man United coming in, Liverpool, Newcastle, none of that, because I feel like we're in a position now, thanks to last season, where our project looks maybe as tempting, if not more tempting, than those clubs. But Manchester City, when they come calling, it is a different knock. It is Manchester City and Real Madrid at the moment can offer people whatever they want. And I was worried, but I think we've got this deal done because we've all clubbed together and just made it happen. And that is quite refreshingly, because we've missed out previously on players.
Yeah, listen. I think it is really refreshing. I think what that's the pleasing thing about it. Look, how many times have we sat as fans and seen big players all through through years and years? I can go back to Rooney when Rooney was available. You know what I mean? Weren't even in the mix for it when Rio Ferdinand was going for Man United. Wasn't in for it. Like not been in the hunt for any top class player. You know, you even go back to last season. Like Haaland was available, not at the table, not even spoken about. Like now all of a sudden we heard little rumours. I'll never forget it. Like a fella came up to me who was a relation of Declan Rice at the game against Oxford. Remember that game in the FA Cup, and said, "Look, there's a chance he could come to Arsenal." You know what I mean? That's all he said. He didn't say anything more than that. There's a chance, you know what I mean? Show. I don't know who I was with. Showed us a text message, and it was genuine, like that. There was an opportunity for him to go there.
That was about the same time that I heard it. Then that was about February time. I remember. I got a message saying the same thing, and I thought, really, bloody hell, I'll take that.
Yeah, and so I do believe from that moment on, Arsenal have been trying to get that. Then, of course, then the Caicedo one come out right at the end of January, and I thought, wow, like what I mean, Arsenal are, maybe that wasn't right, and maybe they're going for somebody else and all that. But it seems that they've been working on it, talking to him, and then we've got the thing that he preferred to go to Arsenal. Well, not prefer. His preference was to go to Arsenal. It wasn't just Arsenal and no one, though. You know what I mean? If Arsenal couldn't get a deal, and somebody else would, he was prepared to do that. But and right, you think, right, get in there and get it done. But is it right or wrong? I don't know. That we tried to penny pinch a little bit, like But in the end, I think that yes, we've paid over the odds, but let's get this right. To get the best player out of a football club, you're going to have to pay over the odds. It's as simple as that. Like now West Ham fans and people having a go at West Ham fans, I see it on Twitter today and going, "Oh, you get what you deserve now, you West Ham fans," and all that. Like, it's starting to take the mickey out of a little bit. But let's have a little bit of class. Let's have a little think about it. When Manchester United took Robin van Persie, when Man City were taking players off of us, it's not very nice. It's not very nice whatsoever. Like So from West Ham's point of view, if you know it's going to happen, what have you got to do? You've got to get the best deal you possibly can for the football club and make it a little bit easier for the fans to swallow and all that, Now we know West Ham fans and all of them were saying that they prefer him to go to Manchester City because it was easier on them if he did, and I get that, you know what I mean. But for us to come in and flex our muscles a little bit, Dan, you know what I mean, it's something that we've not done in many a year, I get that a lot of Arsenal fans. Another thing that when people are trying to lecture people about trust the process and should trust Arsenal and all that, well, listen, we've had a lot of things to not trust, not in the owners from now on. I can go back to when Luis Suarez said he wanted to come to Arsenal, and we messed that one up. We've got history of messing things up. Even last season, in the last transfer window, things didn't go quite our way. But one thing that has been for me, Dan, a little bit of a consolation is that we've been doing this deal, and then on the side we've gone and spent 65 million on Havertz, so we don't really need Kai Havertz. We don't really. I say we don't really need him, but we do. It's a good. But if you're prepared to spend 65 million on that, then there's money to spend. And we've now gone and spent 105 on that, and we're hearing now that the timber is being done as well. So all of a sudden we've spent three on three big players. I will say this though, Dan, players will go. I think that if we could keep Partey and Xhaka and with that midfield that we've got now, I'll be very, very happy with that going into next season. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think we're going to lose a few players. So we still need to bring in, I still think, another couple of players because we have got Champions League football next season and we need to have a big squad. I honestly believe that one of the reasons we didn't win the league last season because the squad wasn't strong enough. Not the team, the squad. When we lost players like Saliba, when we lost players like Partey, who was, I didn't think, quite fit enough at the end of the season. I think it looks a bit like 80% fit. I'm not sure. Like, Xhaka went ill, didn't he, in those games, and we didn't have the backup there. So very, very important that we get the squad sorted out, and we look like we're doing our bits on that way.
Yeah, Daniel, it's a nice segue to yourself, really, because Lee's talking about some of the outgoings, and I wanted to talk to you about Rice's position at Arsenal. Where you think he'll play is my kind of first question, and my second question is, what room is there in the midfield at the moment? Because in my opinion, if we start seeing players leave now that Rice is there, we're still going to be a bit short, and we might need to go in again for at least one midfielder more.
I think that we need to get another couple of midfielders in, and I'm not against. I know this is going to sound really strange. I'm not against Partey and Xhaka leaving, and the reason for that is, and I don't really think anybody's really touched upon this in all the podcasts that I've watched, is you look at the way Liverpool struggled this season with their aging midfield. I think the club have took a look at that and gone, you know what, Xhaka's not getting younger. Thomas Partey's his Arsenal career has been hit with injuries, coupled with the fact that he's aging. I think they've just looked on it and go, it's a risk, but if we let these players go and we can get younger profiles in, it's going to set us up in the long term. And I look at it that way. I don't look at it as us losing two quality players. Yes, they are quality players, and Xhaka this season has been immense. Thomas Partey, again, it's tailed off towards the end, but for the first 3/4 of the season, he's been immense. But I look at it as just refreshing that squad, and I think Declan Rice will take the Thomas Partey role. I can't see him, even though he can play the 8. I don't know where. Maybe Arteta might use him there, depending on if we can get another midfield in. But I think he'll take that Thomas Partey role.
Yeah, I think the beauty of this for me is that Declan Rice can play in the 6 or the 8. And I actually do quite like the idea of him playing in the 8 moving forward. I think he can drive. I think he can contribute with goals. I think he can do a little bit of everything. That's why I like Declan Rice so much.
Do you know the problem with that is I think that's where Havertz is going to be.
And that was my next thing. I quite like the idea of Rice there. The reason I think he's going to play in the 6 is because there's rumours that Kai Havertz is coming in, which we'll touch on in a bit, but I do not get that at all. That one for me, well, I mean, we'll save it because we'll have a convo about Havertz next. Yeah. But that would worry me because I don't think Rice, Havertz and Ødegaard is as strong as Xhaka, Partey and Ødegaard. And it's nothing to do with Declan Rice because he's stronger than Xhaka. You can debate whether you think he's stronger than Partey. A lot of people would say yes, some people would say no. But Havertz in that position, to me, is actually weaker than Granit Xhaka. I never thought I'd ever say that in my life, but it is, in my opinion.
Do you not think it comes down to the system? Do you not think it not comes down to the system? Because I think Havertz in Arteta's system, and I know we're going to touch on this.
Well, we haven't seen it yet, Dan. That's my problem.
No, but I think it will be a lot better than what people's expecting from Havertz.
I mean, that's what we all hope. I'm praying. I'm absolutely praying that it is better than what we think, because what I've seen of this guy don't look too great. Now, he's obviously a good player. He's technically gifted. I get that. But I have worries about it. I mean, let's ask you. Let's move on to it. Havertz, Daniel. I mean, £65 million. 8 goals is his best record at Chelsea. 17 goals at Bayern Leverkusen, playing in an attacking midfield role. You seem quite confident about this one just then. Yeah, you think it's going to work?
I'm for Havertz. And the reason why I'm not really judging his time at Chelsea. Listen, Chelsea are a shit show, and they have been a shit show. And when you look at Havertz, when you look at his time at Chelsea, he's gone through 4 different managers, changed systems God knows how many times. They've not really found his best position. It was an odd fit when I watched him in the Bundesliga and then he was linked to Chelsea, I was kind of like, Havertz and Chelsea just didn't seem like a good fit. And I think in a more progressive side that, which, Arteta's built, I think Havertz will thrive. I think, I look at it to the, I look at the Havertz signing the same way as I looked at the Odegaard signing. When Arteta brought Odegaard in, he wasn't pulling up trees at Real Madrid. He could barely get into their side. And now Odegaard's at least £100 million player. And that's because Arteta's turned him into this vital figure for us. And, I never thought Odegaard would score, 15 goals this season? I'd never thought he would get that when we brought him in. So I think we have to give a little bit of trust in Arteta and what he's trying to do. I know some of his signings have been wrong in the past, but over the last 2 to 3 transfer windows, every signing has paid off. Ben White was, nobody really wanted Ben White. Same with Ramsdale. And now they're key players for us. So I think we have to just give a little bit of trust here. And Havertz is one of those risky signings that actually come the end of next season, we'll be going, wow, nobody really wanted him, but what a genius signing that was. And I think he's going to be in that category of signing.
I mean, listen, Lee, Dan brings up some great points there about Ramsdale, Ben White, Tomiyasu is another one, and there's a couple more. The guys was mentioned. Listen, for me, he's absolutely bang on. We do need to reserve judgment. Let's wait and see him in an Arsenal shirt before we judge him what he did on a Chelsea shirt. But this is a risky signing at 65 million that, in my opinion, Lee, has to work. And there's 2 reasons it has to work. One is obviously the price that we paid for him. 2 is because we're going in for a player that has actually flopped for a club that only is literally up the road. And the other thing is he's bought Fabio Vieira and now Havertz for a combined 100 million. One of them ain't worked yet. Give him another year, it looks like. This one has to work, Lee, for me.
Yeah, it does. I think a couple of things is that, I think it makes a great point there about Odegaard. Didn't quite work out for him at Real Madrid, but he was well sought after before he went to Real Madrid, and so was Havertz. Everybody. I remember a couple of people that were in the know in European football saying, "Oh, why aren't we going for Kai Havertz? Why aren't we going for him? That's the sort of player that Arsenal need." Now, it hasn't worked out at Chelsea. There's numerous reasons why that is, and I'm not worried about that. I think 2 of the best players have ever played for Arsenal, in Patrick Vieira and Thierry Henry, didn't work out for them at AC Milan and Juventus respectively until they come to Arsenal. So I'm going to reserve my judgment on that fact. The one thing that I will say is that he's Premier League proven. He's had a couple of years in the Premier League. Different managers all the time, I think he's on his 4th manager or something like that. And when you speak to a couple of Chelsea people that I know and all that, they don't really know what position he plays then. Whether they're saying he's been playing.
That is my worry, man. I can't even lie. That is a big worry for me.
That is for me now. What I want to see when we go at pre-season, when we go on the pre-season thing, is actually a defined role. What I mean? To see where he's actually playing and then playing there. Now, for him to be a success, he can't be playing 1 week wide right, one then in the false 9 and then out on the left-hand side and things like that. Because as well as Trossard has done this season, I think he struggled with moving positions all the time. I think with Trossard next season, you've got to say to him, right, you're either going to play as the false 9 back up to Jesus, or you're playing the wide left player place for Martinelli. It's been a little bit difficult for him, So I think when you're paying out a lot of money, like 65 million, now this get straight on this, it's 7 million short of our record signing, which was Pepe before Rice come along. So it's a lot of money. It's a massive, massive investment on somebody that's not really pulled up trees. Now, you could probably have said to Chelsea, we could have got him a lot less. But Arteta has come out and said, and I think I quote what he said, he's going to make our midfield strong. So that seems to me that he's going to be playing him in that midfield role. So we're waiting to see on that. And it bodes well for us, really, if we've got that player that's going to play there and take a... Listen, I think one of the criticisms, and it's not a criticism if I'll be really honest about Xhaka. At times when he got into that final third, he was a little bit slow, and it just didn't quite happen and all that. Like now, imagine if you're getting Havertz in there and he has got that little bit more quickness in it. Who knows? The other thing that is a bit of a worry is that if we do play him in there, one thing that a lot of Chelsea fans have been saying is a little bit weak, a little bit, so you're being very, very exposed to the midfield. You're putting a lot of pressure on, because Odegaard ain't the greatest defensive midfield player in the world, more attacking, as we well know. So you're putting a lot on Declan Rice and Partey in there, So, and for me, we know West Ham Paul, and he's always said, box to box. The reason that he plays that for West Ham in that holding role is because he hasn't got the players around him to be able to express himself and be released. But Arsenal, and he swears by it, he says, play him in that box-to-box number, you're going to get a better Declan Rice than what you've seen at West Ham. So for me, if that's the case, I'd rather see Declan Rice in that role. But then where's your play Havertz? Havertz, that's my biggest worry with
well, I mean, it's a worry, but also it's not a worry because you have competition for places.
That's a great point.
And with Havertz, I do think he's got some attributes which I don't think he's utilised at Chelsea, because he should have more presence, he should have more strength, he should be able to hold it up better. In the air, people say that he's quite good. I've not seen enough of it, but apparently he's okay in the air. Technically, he's gifted. He's got a real wand of a left, apparently, and he does like to get late into the box. So we've got a lot of attributes there that we can use to our benefit. Now, I don't mind at the moment so much that he ain't got a position if Mikel Arteta believes that he has a position for him in his head. What I don't want to really is that Havertz comes on for Saka or Martinelli and plays wide, because he ain't that type of player to me. He certainly ain't that sort of press, go forward, drive on the ball. He looks to be a completely different option. But it looks to me, Daniel, like you say, that Havertz is going to play in the attacking 8 and that Rice is going to play in the 6, and then Odegaard's going to be in the other attacking 8, the other side on the right-hand side. And you think that's going to work, Dan? You're quite confident about that?
I think, I think we have to give this one a chance. I really do. I honestly see
I agree.
Working out, and I think I think defensively we don't need to worry about. I think we got Rice. If Partey stays, we've got him. We've got Jorginho, who we've got to mention. So I'm not necessarily worried about this. I think this will pay off. I'm probably about 95% sure that this will pay off.
Okay, that's confident.
I'm with that. Like Goon Lee's saying in there as well. Like he's a little bit quicker than Xhaka, and I agree. Like don't forget he's 24 years of age as well. Like ain't even in his prime yet. I do think that we just got to I'm learning my lessons a little bit. Like I've never slagged off the Ramsdale signing, but I did sort of baffle why we were spending that sort of money. Yeah, baffle why we were spending sort of that money. What I thought was going to be a reserve goalkeeper, which it turned out I was well off the mark. And if I'll be really honest, I don't mind admitting it. I weren't that struck on the Jesus signing last season when we got him. Like I thought, I wasn't overly impressed with him at Manchester City, if I'll be honest. When he came to the Arsenal and I see what he was doing on the pre-season tour and then he blew me away. So, again, I think it's one that's something to look forward to on the pre-season tour, because, he's going to be there, isn't he? And see where he plays. And so I'm looking forward to it, Dan. I'm going to say, you don't spend £65 million if you're not sure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And he clearly wanted him because we got him in before.
It was a definite. I tell you what, I don't know how people feel about this, but we haven't messed about, have we? I know we ain't. There's been a little bit of haggling with the Declan Rice one, but which I expect. But this Timber one's come out of nowhere, and Kai Havertz as well. So
let's hope it don't stop there, man. That's what I say. Let's hope it don't stop there, because it's been a good start.
Got to just sort of sit back, put your feet up, and just see what happens. I think really And listen, I get it. We was panicking a little bit last week. And if we'd have done a show, everybody would probably be going, "Oh, look, we're being very, very negative." So it just shows you just got to just put your feet up and
times to change.
A lot of people, Dan, I've got to say this. There's a lot of people online and on the Twitter and everything like that wanting Edu sacked and all that, and we can lose our heads a little bit, can't we? You know what I mean? And listen, I've had messages from people in my Instagram and things like that saying, "Look, have a word with your mate Edu." But he's not my mate, you know what I mean? And it was, I was getting a little bit panicky for him at one stage. I was thinking, "Oh, please pull this over because you're going to get pillared for it." I
think it's because of what's happened before, not what is happening. I think it's the worry that it was going to happen again, and now that it hasn't, people will calm down again. It's the way it is, man. Transfer windows a horrible thing, man. It's not even. It's not pleasant. You know what I mean?
No. The greatest thing, Dan, is now what people were having a go at Edu for is that he can't get the big one over the line. You know what I mean?
He's done it now.
He's done it. He's done that now. I'm not saying it's just him, but the whole team,
the regime has,
have got over a big one, and I think that's something when you go fishing at times. You know what I mean? And it's no good pickling up tiddlers all the time. You need that big bream. Was it a bream or a carp? You need that big one.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean. The other thing we haven't mentioned, lads, which is even more important than getting Declan Rice, is signing down all these players to new contracts.
Younger players,
absolutely.
Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, and the William Saliba one for me. And I'm probably going to stick my head out on the line and say this. That to me was more important than getting Declan Rice, because William Saliba is a world-class defender and we needed him. We absolutely needed him. And the fact that we've tied him down, because I've got to be honest, I wasn't obviously I was worried about missing out on Declan Rice, but I was more worried about losing Saliba, because Saliba last season was so key to us. Look at how we fell off.
Alert from reminders. Do today.
Yeah, look how when we missed him.
What was that?
Sorry, that was my computer. Sorry.
I saw Lee. I thought, is that Lee pressing something?
No, that was my computer.
We both looked at each other thinking, who was that?
All the speeches,
what have you got to do today, Daniel? That's what we want to know now.
Yeah. Come on and talk to you, lovely, fine gentlemen. That's what I've got to do today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you, man. Pleasure to have you. No, I think you're bang on, and Daniel. And I'll tell you why that's important for me is because we have been told that this process is going to be all about youth projects. And if we're going to start selling youth or letting them walk out, it's just failed completely. So important to get them all signed. I really had in the back of my mind, I've had confidence Martinelli, Ramsdale, Ben White, Martin Odegaard, who they believe is going to sign another contract and keep him here a while. Saka, I knew was going to stay. I didn't have a problem with that one. Saliba, I did. And I'll tell you why, because he was the one who was not at Arsenal other than this one season. He had time in France. There was personal problems in his life. And I felt like perhaps we didn't treat him too well in the times that we could have used him and utilised him. And I was worried about that one. I still thought he'd sign, but it's just nice to have it in concrete that he is staying now and that we're not actually having any of these players running down their contracts into the last year, which we were told would not happen. Now, there are some opportunities and exceptions of that where we have had players coming into their last year, their contracts again, and we need to stop that. We need to get to the last 2 years and say, right, this guy's got 2 years, offer him a new deal. If you're not signing it, well, we're going to have to sell you then because we don't want you running down your contract to last year. And I think that we will get better at that. And it was so important for us to actually get these youngsters signed up big time. And I think now it looks like, Lee, we're going to be going in for your mate Timber. 40 odd million.
42 million.
Which again is not small change again, so we're paying the money, aren't we?
And when you think about it, we signed Kiviera in the January, so that was
20 million.
It was 20 odd million, you know what I mean? So our defensive side of it is all done now, So I do believe he can play right back or central defence. I think that Ben White still will be the main man there, but towards the end of the season, Ben White did tire. I felt, and we've got more games this season, so I think that's very, very good. And I think one of the key things about signing these young players, and I don't care what anybody says, if I'm Saliba or I'm Saka, and even Ramsdale and Martinelli, I'm going to put them in there because they're all class players that could probably get moves to wherever they want to go. There must have been some conversations before they signed and committed to the club that, what are we going to do? Are we going to be? What are we going to do? Are we going to be challenging? And the club must have said, look, we're going to be signing Declan Rice. We're going to be signing this, and don't think this don't happen, because I've spoken to ex-players and all that when they go into these meetings. That they're the questions that they ask: who's coming in, and blah blah blah. When they sign as well.
Yeah.
They actually say that we're bringing in so and so, so and so. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it don't, but that's what they say. And so I think for them to commit as they have done, and if you are a young player like Saliba, why would you want to leave Arsenal at this moment in time? He must be thinking to himself, look, I'm guaranteed to start at this football club. We're in the Champions League. We look like we might be challenging for titles for the next 4 or 5 years. This is the place to be. And that's very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Encouraging for us, and there's players that have turned us down. Some just gone through on the chat, I didn't see it, but Vlahovic, would be perfect. But how must he be feeling like,
Yeah.
He's turned down the Arsenal, felt that things were better at Juventus. Well, they're certainly not, and so other players might look at that and go, cool, well, look, he's gone Arsenal and look where it's developed. Look at Ramsdale, look how well he's done, how good it is for Martin Odegaard. Must be a very, very good beacon of things for everybody, because, things were struggling. Look at him now. I think I'll have a little bit of that if I can. So I don't think Arsenal is what 3 or 4 years ago, Dan, would have, listen, we were signing players 2 or 3 years ago, and I say this now, and I said this earlier on today, fun enough, to a Spurs fan, because Spurs are in a little bit of a position like we are now when they've signed Maddison and they're pleased with that. But at least that they want to go to the Arsenal. There's no European football when we signed a few of these players, when we signed the Ramsdales and the Ben Whites and the Odegaards and all that. It wasn't Champions League football. It was all, maybe Europa League and all that. So it tells you that they want to come to the football club. So, and then other players now look at that and think, do you know what, I might want some of that, So I think that, it's a vibrant place to go to the Arsenal at the moment. We couldn't get rid of players a little while ago, Dan. We couldn't get rid of players, you know what I mean? Now look at what these players are worth now. We've got, they're unbelievable. What Saka's, if we're buying Declan Rice for 100 million, how much is Saka worth? My God, you know what I mean? That's sensational in the England game the other week, Martinelli we bought for 6 million. He must be worth. Well, I'd be very unhappy if we sold him for less than 80 at this moment in time, Odegaard the same. I think Daniel mentioned it earlier on, £100 million player, 100 million plus, so, and Saliba, well, I'm with Daniel on this one, world class, the best young defender in the world of football at this moment in time, in my opinion. And that's not me being biased, and I'll tell you what, look how much we missed him when he wasn't there. That's how bloody good he is.
100%. And it's nice actually now. And I'll tell you why I like this Timber signing, Daniel, right? I'll tell you why I really like this. One, he's young, he's 22, he's quality on the ball. There's aerial problems. He's only 5'10" or something. Fair play. Okay, we can hold that one. On the ball, he looks great. He can play the inverted role. He can play right back and right centre back. And for the first time, I think Arsenal have sat there, and this is years. We go back years, by the way, not a couple of years. This is before Arteta. This is Arsene Wenger times. How many times have we got an injury and we think, oh, Christ, we've got to bring him in now? And I think for the first time this season, if there's a problem at right back, you've got Ben White, Tomiyasu and Timber that can cover it. If you've got a problem at left back, you've got Zinchenko, Tierney and Tomiyasu that can cover it. And I believe Tierney's staying now, which is a really, really good thing. I think that's a huge positive for Arsenal. At the back now, you've got Gabriel and Kivior to cover the left side, and now you've got Saliba and Timber that can cover the right side of centre-half as well. I think in defence, with this Timber signing over the line, we're pretty much sorted, mate.
Yeah, defence is sorted. Defence is absolutely sorted, and that's the beauty of buying versatile players, is that when you've got problems in one area, they can all chop and change. And I think maybe that's what Arteta's looked at and thought, you know what, instead of buying these one-dimensional players, let's just buy these versatile players that can play in multiple positions.
Yeah, 100%, man. And do you know much about him, Dan? Do you think this is a good signing?
To be honest, I've got to be honest, I don't really know an awful lot about him, but from what I've read and from the way people talk about him, I think he'll bring that balance to the right-hand side. And yeah, listen, I'm fully invested in what Arteta and Edu are trying to do, and yeah, I've got to be honest though, I don't really know an awful lot about him. Not going to sit here and say I'm a timber expert.
No, fair play. Fair play. I think it's a good signing, and I don't think it needs to stop there. Before we move on to what else we think we need and where we think we'll go in this window, I wanted to ask you both on the Ethan Nwaneri signing. Is he signed a new deal now at 16? Now, I think this kid is talented. And during the World Cup break, I went to the Emirates with my dad, and we watched the Juventus game, which, to be fair, was pretty poor. And Kozia Dubry and Nwaneri both come on, and they both looked great. They were probably the two of the brightest sparks of the whole game, to be fair, because at the time, all the good players at the World Cup. Now, they came on, and I thought, actually, this is what I need to be seeing more of these two. And sometimes, you know, when I've always said, oh, we're playing the bloody kids in the League Cup, why are we doing that? Actually, that's actually when you don't mind seeing some of the inexperienced heads coming on, because it was actually good to see. And these two look like the next two to kind of come through, and it's really vital for me, the Nwaneri signing. Now, I know he was young, and Arteta brought him on at 15 years old last season. That caused a big stir, but obviously knew that he believed in the kid and thought he was going to be the next one coming through. And I do think that by getting rid of the interest from Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City and Man United that were all sniffing around this kid, by him signing already with a group of young players, I think it proves that he is happy is at the future of the club, Lee. And I think it's really important that we've got this kid signed up.
Yeah, listen, I don't really want to, put too much pressure on him because, he's only just really signed scholarship. He's just leaving school, but of course, has played a first team game already this season, last season at Brentford. So obviously he's a top player for a kid, but I do think it's unbelievable, really, that these kids are being touted and trying to be poached by other clubs at certain ages and being offered a lot of money and all that. The one great thing that he's got is that he's leaving school knowing that when he leaves school, he's going to do an apprenticeship or a scholarship, and he's guaranteed of getting a professional contract. That don't happen too much in life, you know what I mean? Like, so he's got a good start. There's no pressure on him from that point of view. So, but what I've seen of him, I've got to say, I've liked what I've seen. Now don't forget, this is a kid that ain't guaranteed playing in the under-18s. He wasn't a regular in the under-18s FA Cup winning side. Why? Because he's 3 years younger than everybody else. He was in the squad and all that, So the good thing now is that he can develop and the way things are with Arsenal. And I'm pretty sure one of the things that they've said is there's a pathway. And what is the pathway? Well, you only have to look at what we've got at Arsenal at this moment in time. Players have had a pathway. For instance, obviously obvious ones, Saka and Smith Rowe. But then when you look back, even players like Willock have got games and then moved on. And then you look at other players like Maitland-Niles have made a career and things like that. So the thing is, it's now you get a chance. Can you make it? If you're not, you're gonna be make it somewhere else. But I've got a feeling that this kid's going to be a little bit. Listen, he must be bloody well. He must be bloody good at that age to be like that. To be that good, you know what I mean? Like, it must be frightening. So he must be a talent, you know what I mean? So, at 15 to be, pushing on or knocking on the first team door, you know what I mean? That don't come
Absolutely,
very often with players, So unbelievable, really.
Yeah, big time. Good news, and good news for the future of the club as well, because we've got kids like that coming through. Long may it continue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at what we think we still need to do, because a lot of people, rightly so, are getting excited, Daniel, but I do think that there's still a lot of work to do with the surgery needed in this Arsenal setup. And the reason I say that is because we ain't sold anybody yet. So it's not so much the Dross and the Deadwood we need to get rid of. I imagine Lokonga will go, Tavares, Cedric, Runnison, Pepe. They're talking about getting rid of and getting rid of his contract. Rumours of Eddie and Balogun, understanding that they're not quite sure what they're going to do with those players. But it's more about the Chakas and parties that I'm more worried about, and potentially the Kieran Tierney's, if that is the rumour that he still may go. What do you see happening in terms of outgoings, and what do you think we can recoup from some of the funds, Dan?
Outgoings is a tricky one for me because I think, yeah, it's a very tricky one. I've got to be honest. I think I'll be looking to sell Eddie. I still feel like we need a centre forward, a decent centre forward to play alongside Jesus. I'm not as worried now as I was about bringing in a replacement for Saka, because I actually think the signing of Havertz means that possibly Arteta might look to play Vieira out wide or Smith Rowe, because they can both do those positions as well. So I think maybe the club are probably looking at that and going, okay, we don't need to bring in another out and out winger, because I think Smith Rowe and Vieira could do that, but definitely a centre forward. I've got to be honest, I'll be keeping Balogun. I'll be keeping him and giving him the role that Eddie had, because I think Eddie's had more than enough opportunities to prove whether he's made it or not. And I just don't think he's going to be up to the level, especially now we're in Champions League and might make it in the Carabao Cup and stuff. But I'd be giving those minutes to Balogun. I think Balogun deserves an opportunity that he hasn't really had at Arsenal. Other areas, it's very obviously, you pointed out Lokonga, Tavares. I think those will go. Rob Holding definitely needs to. It's time to move on. Cedric as well, I think, still on the books. So those are the guys that I would ship out. As for Partey and Xhaka, like I said, I'm not too worried about those going, because I think refreshing the midfield is crucial, and they are aging. We don't want to find ourselves in a couple of years' time where we're in a situation that Liverpool found themselves in this season with aging midfield. So I'm not too worried about either or both of those going, because they are pretty much coming to the end. And then also, you think in a year's time, we're going to have to replace Jorginho as well, because he was only on an 18th month contract. So I think refreshing the midfield is a good thing, and we need to keep refreshing that midfield. But yeah, those are, I think, what we need to do, to be honest.
Yeah, well, listen, this is what I think. I think there's still 4 positions that we are going to be short in if we don't do any more business, and that's with Havertz, Timber, and Rice coming in. I still think our midfield needs more. I don't think we can just buy Declan Rice. We certainly can't just buy Declan Rice if Xhaka and Partey are leaving. We're going to have to bring in a big money signing like a Caicedo again, or we're going to have to, if we can't afford that, go and get Lavia. We also need to look at what Saka's going to be doing this year. And there's 2 options. There's go and buy another winger, or you play Jesus out there if Saka's not about, and you go and buy a centre forward. So I'll ask you, Lee. I'll come to you with this one. Do you keep Eddie and Balogun, or do you sell them both and buy a top striker?
Yeah, well, listen, if you can get, I don't know, 70, 80 million for the pair of them, and that's a lot. You know what I mean? But, Balogun's been banging in goals in France, so I think that we should be getting over the odds for them to and bring in a Vlahovic. I'd take that deal. Something like that. I would take that, something like that. Because I think we need someone that can hit the ball, and someone that can just vary it up a little bit. And Daniel makes a good point there that Jesus can play either right or play on the left as well. So it's not like, he would be starved of games. But I am not really wholly concerned about lack of goals, because we've got goals all over last season. So I do think that we'll do that again next season with who's ever in there. I think that we'll always get a lot of goals. But for me, I think that if we do sell Partey and Xhaka, then we've got to bring in another 2. Not 1. You know what I mean? We was lacking a little bit with them last season. So if we was to sell them, I've got no problems with selling him. And then we bring in a Casido or a Lavia. Was it Lavia? Lavia. Bring in both. If we was to bring in them 2 and sell Partey and
then we're stronger if we sell them.
Yeah, I'd say right, and you get like 40, 50 million for Partey, saying you spend another 80, 90 on Casido and another 40 on Lavia. I'm going to be well happy with that, because that gives us not only a midfield that's capable of challenging now, but for the next 5, 6, 7 years. We haven't got to look to invest in the midfield in the next 4 or 5 years. Yes, maybe Jorginho may have to leave, but then you've got like the youngsters coming through the ranks. You know, if I'd be really honest, Charlie Patino is a player that I quite thought was very, very good, but I don't think he's going to make the grade. So I think that if we can get some money for him, that'll help. Lukonga, I think will be there. Vieira for me is a big season for him. I don't really see where he's going to play, so maybe a loan to a Premier League club would be for me something that I would
loan to Wolves. They like Portugal players, don't they?
Just something like that, Dan. Just to give him. Just to give him a Premier League, because I do think there is a player there. Of course, there's a player there, but you know, I feel that when you look at a lot of our signings at this moment in time, you know, you even think about Trossard, Jesus, Shinchenko of last season. They've all Premiership experience. He hadn't, so I think that maybe, like, you know, it's going to be a big season for him, whether he stays or he goes. You know, like Rob Holding, I think, you know, and listen, with Rob Holding, I'm going to be really honest. You know what I mean? I won't be looking for match money for him, like, because I think he's been a fantastic servant for the club. You know, Tavares, you know what I mean? If we can get some money for him, that would be great. As I said, the two forwards, I'm with Daniel. I'd like to see what Balogun can do, you know, and I would be saying to him, right, well, you got an opportunity in pre-season, go and prove it, see what you can do. Eddie is a difficult one. You know, he done okay for us as a backup last season, but he's not going to be he's never ever going to be the number 1, is he? Like, so I don't know what actually happens there with him. If someone was to come along and offer silly money, yeah, I'd definitely take it, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for me, because if Eddie and Balogun are going to be a part of this side, then I kind of feel like it's a little bit risky. And I'll tell you why. I think Eddie's proven that he can do a job, but I don't think we want players to do a job anymore. We want players that can take us to a title. And I'm not sure that Eddie and Ketty in the squad can take us to a title. Balogun has gone and scored a lot of goals in France, and I think he is going to be a talent. I really like him. But he scored less goals than Lacazette in the France League. And we got rid of him because he weren't good enough. So if we have to be a little bit careful on this one. It's a different league. Sometimes it's different to England. I'm not saying he's going to be awful. I'm just saying we got rid of Lacazette, and Lacazette got more goals than him. So I need to see Balogun. Personally, if I had my preference, I'd loan Balogun to Palace or to Wolves or to Brighton for a season and let him go and have a season playing up top for someone. And then I'd go, do you know what? Yeah, he's good enough. Or, he can't score more than 5 goals for West Ham. Let's sell him. So that's what I do.
Problem is, Balogun doesn't want another loan, does he? No,
he doesn't. No, I think we're going to sell him. That's why.
Yeah, well, there's talk of us trying to get 50 million for him. I mean,
50?
if we have, that's what Arsenal value him at, 50 million.
Christ, really?
Yeah,
I don't think we're getting that for him, but fair enough.
That's what they value him at, 50 million.
Wow,
that's what they're saying.
I think we could push for 25, 30, but I don't know if we get 50. But you know, fair enough. We can try it.
You know, I'm actually, I don't know. I think we can get 50 in today's market. You know, if you look at
where's you going to go though, guys, and guarantee you're going to be starting every week?
That's what I don't get. Brentford, I reckon, is a good shout for him because they ain't got Ivan Toney now.
Yeah,
yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I just, and I know you guys are concerned about the midfield, but I'm really not concerned about the midfield. You know, we've got We've got Smith Rowe in there. We need a place for Smith Rowe. Obviously, we've still got El Neni on the books. I just don't think the club are going to even entertain buying another midfield. If they buy, I think they might get one. I think they might get one. I don't think they'll get. Don't think they'll get two. I think they might get an extra one like Lavia. I don't think, as much as I would love him, I don't think they're going to get Caicedo. I can't see them splashing out another 80 to 90 million on Caicedo in the time frame. I think what they'll try and do is they'll try and get they'll try and ship out players, and I think by then Chelsea probably would have got the deal done for Caicedo. So I don't think I'm not sure, after shelling out 105 million for Declan Rice, I'm not sure they're going to go quickly. I think any secondary midfielder might depend on outgoings and funds.
Listen, I think I slightly disagree in terms of the midfield. I think we do need to get midfield, because otherwise, if Rice gets a knock, we're back to Jorginho and El Neni. So if Chaka and Partey go. So we need to buy midfielders, like 100%, and I know Rice is always injury prone, injury free, never gets injured, all that stuff. But if he goes in late in his second game and then three games out of a red card, we're playing Jorginho again in the middle for 3 games. Now, I like Jorginho and like El Neni. They're respectful players, honest players. They ain't good enough for a title, in my opinion. I don't think we've got anywhere near a title with El Neni, if I'm honest. So we're going to need to hope and pray if that happens. So I think you're right, Dan. I think Lavia is the one that is being touted that we're looking at. Caicedo, I think a lot of clubs are sniffing around him. My worry with Caicedo is, why has no one bid for him yet? I think he's going Chelsea. And Chelsea aren't allowed to bid until tomorrow, is it? Or the 1st of July, because of their FFP thing. So they've got to sell before they buy, basically, which is why they've got rid of Mount, funny enough, today, to a day before they can bid. I'll be very surprised if they don't get Caicedo in the next couple of days. As soon as they're going in, mate. They're going in with it. And I think Caicedo has agreed that he's probably not going to play every game at Arsenal, but he will play every game at Chelsea, even though he probably will play every game at Arsenal if Partey and Chaka go.
And also, you never know, like with, we might, during pre-season, Arteta might see something and go, do you know what, we need this extra. We need, and the market, we're talking like the market's only really just opened. That we've still got another 2 months to go of the market. And, come first game of the season, if there's something not quite right, I'm sure Arsenal will dip back into the market and go, you know what, we need this. We still need this. We still need a striker, because I'll be trying to get another striker.
I agree with that, Dan. I'm with you.
That to me is the main priority above the midfield, because we need someone who can score 25 to 30 goals. And I love Jesus to pieces. I think he's fantastic. And I know we have to take into his injury into account. I'm just not sure that he can score that many goals. Like, I don't know. He tends to drop too deep to be a natural born goal scorer. And maybe with the addition of Havertz, it might free him up to be a little bit more forward thinking. But I'm just not sure that he can score 25 to 30 goals.
No, and I share those concerns about 25 to 30. But I'll give you another scenario, lads, right? We get to the semi-finals of the Champions League this year. Just imagine it. We get Real Madrid. We play Everton at home or wherever it be or away on the Saturday, and we've got Real Madrid on the Tuesday. Jesus pulls up. He's now out for the Real Madrid game. We've got Eddie or Balogun up top. Are you confident?
Well,
I'm not so sure I would be.
Can play there.
Or even Trossard. I like Trossard. I've got a lot of time for him. Would you be interested in going Champions League semi-final at the Bernabeu? Go on, Trossard. Maybe you could do it, Lee. Maybe you could. I just wouldn't have to. I wouldn't want to put my ass on it. That's all I'm saying. I think a striker is needed.
I get what you're saying, but like everything in the Champions League and whatever, I've always said this: you need a little bit of luck. You need a little bit of luck with injuries. You need a little bit of luck with things. You know what I mean? But when those big games come, we need our big players playing. I think that You know, when you look back at the Man City games, we didn't have Thomas Partey and Jesus playing in the home game. We didn't have Saliba playing in the away game. You know, so we need to we need to have a little bit of luck with injuries. You know, and hopefully with Jesus, it'll be about all season. I don't know how many goals Jesus got in the end. How many did he get in the end?
10.
He got 10. So if he'd have been there for the season, he might have got 20. So, you know, So, like, if he can get to 20, I don't think that's going to be a problem for us. I don't. But
I'll tell you, whatever happens, though, lads, however the rest of this transfer window pays out, there's no excuses next season. Absolutely
no. No. We've said that. Listen, you know, people keep saying, "Oh, like you know, the process and things like that is about improving every season," and we have done that. By the way, we've improved every season. To improve next season, though, guys, we've got to go one better, and that's not going to be easy against Man City. Let's not kid ourselves. But I'll be very, very disappointed if Arsenal don't end up second at worst again. I don't think.
Oh God, we've come third. Something's gone wrong, isn't it? Like?
Yeah, something's gone wrong if we haven't. So,
and for me, we need to actually start turning up against Man City, because every time we have Man City, we just roll over and they seem to run us ragged. We need to actually start turning up. I know it's easier said than done, but we need to start putting up a fight against Man City, and we've got the players to do it. We're quite capable of doing it, but every time we go up against Man City, we turn into a flaccid penis and do nothing. Do you know what I mean? We need to start doing more against Man City.
I agree with that. Absolute facts. Absolute facts with that one. Listen, to close, we're going to do a couple of super chats. I think we've got 3 or 4. This one's from Chaitanya. Big up, Chaitanya. Says, we're in business quite literally. Great signing. Let's not stop. Let's get a striker too. So Chaitanya believes we need a striker also.
Is that the best name so far? What a name that is.
What's that?
What a name.
Oh, Chaitanya. Oh, yeah. Class, man. Class. Absolute. Absolute class. It says we need to compete for all the trophies, just what City did. This is the thing. We need a squad, in my opinion, that is competing on all 4 fronts. Not all. We might have enough there to scrape a Carabao Cup. I don't want that. I want to be going for everything, Lee.
Can't pick and choose games like now, like, you know, every single game. And I think that Manchester City proved that last season, that that's what you can do. You know what I mean? That every game they was on it, weren't they? Like, you know, momentum took them over the next game. And yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, I don't want us to be going out of cups early and going, because we're resting this and that. No. All that's gone now. Like, you've got another window to strengthen the squad with Champions League football. You know what's coming, guys. You know what's coming. You know that Champions League's coming, and we've got to be ready for it.
Do you know the thing for me, Dan, and which is even more important? So I was looking at us. And I was looking at City this season, and the one area that I was looking at us not just this season, but last season when we missed out on top 4. Arteta's got to do something about when we get to the business end of a season, because when we get to the business end of a season, when it matters, like we seem to just choke. And I know, like everybody last season, at the start of the campaign, you know, when Man City were dropping points to Brentford, dropping points to Man United, they were going, oh, look, City are wobbling. But you notice the difference when they got to the last 10 to 8 weeks, they just went cold. They just went like robots and went for everybody. And I think Arteta's got to look at that, the business end of a season, and learn from the last 2 seasons where we've had something to play for, we've had it in our hands, and then for whatever reason, we've just mentally just zoned out at the wrong time. And I think actually, if I was Arteta, I'd be focusing on that more than focusing on getting off the blocks, getting a nice big head start, because I think, you know, we can do that. We've got the capabilities to do that. But the capability to see a season out, seasons aren't defined by 9 months and then falling off. Seasons are defined by the last 10 weeks. If you're in and around everything, whether it's the league, Champions League, FA Cup. If you stay in and around it, and then you get to that part of the season, that's when it really matters. And I'd be looking at that in pre-season being a massive concern for me, and going, you know what, we need to focus on when the pressure's on, how we deal with it. And I think, you know, the likes of Declan Rice, I think wasn't only signed for his abilities, but his leadership. And I think maybe Arteta seems to be targeting all these leaders now to get us through that. But that's one concern that massively needs addressing.
I'm the same as you, mate. I think April comes around this year. It's going to be interesting to see where we are for one, and how we're going to get across the line in the next 6 to 8 weeks after it. Because for me, you know, it's you can't be throwing trophies away and bottling it again for the third year in a row. Zaina says, I think Timber and Saliba will form the best partnership. He says, why didn't we get Maddison also? He's wasted his time joining that pub team. Well, Maddison actually retired last night. I don't know if anyone saw. He went to Tottenham. So I don't know what that's all about personally. Lee, let me ask you this, because I had a chat, and I'm going to talk about this later on my show. I think that's a quality signing for Tottenham, and everyone laughs when I say it. He is a good player, Maddison, right? Or am I just on my own here?
No. Listen, because he's gone to Spurs, very good player. Like, you know, a couple of things that have make it a little bit of a dodgy one for me is his injury prime. I think like the last couple of seasons he's picked up injuries. I think went to the World Cup injured, and then towards the end of the season looked like he was struggling again from injury. But when fully fit, class player, right? You know, and I think there was a lot of Arsenal fans wanting to have him in the Arsenal squad, and also like pushing for an England place. You know, I mean, I think there's a lot of people, not just any sort of English fans, saying, you know, he deserves his chance. And I think in the last couple of internationals that he's played, he's not let himself down by any stretch of the imagination. But to turn around and say it's a dream to play for Spurs and things like that, I question his sanity. Like, you know, but listen, he didn't help them Leicester last season get out of relegation. You know what I mean? Like he did this get it wrong. He was part of that. But again, not going to slag that off, because you could throw that one at Ramsdale with us. You know what I mean? So listen, you have to say at this moment in time, that's good business. Spurs need someone like that. They've been crying out for a creative midfield player for a lot of time. So getting for 40 million without no European football, no midweek football, a lot of it, is a good move. It's a good move for Tottenham, like, you know. But listen, we had that thing a few years ago, comparing him with Odegaard. You know, now everybody's like comparing him with Havertz and all that. Like, you know, look, we're a different ballpark now to them. Like, bloody lovely, isn't it? Like, we're in a different ballpark to them. Like,
brilliant, isn't it?
It's brilliant. So
listen, he's a good player, and I would have loved him at Arsenal.
Yeah, he's a good player. Listen, I think he'd have done a good job at Arsenal. He'd do a good job at a lot of teams. But at the end of the day, where would he have played at Arsenal? I think if I be really honest, you've got to ask that question. He's not going to take Odegaard's place. He's not going to get probably regular football at Arsenal. And, you know, at Spurs he is. So that's what other teams can offer players at times, Dan. They can offer regular football.
Yeah.
And he's going to get that there. So, you know, I'd like to say
shame he's gone there, because
because I quite liked him as a person. I tell you what, when he interviews, he's been very good. Yeah,
going to be a pundit, isn't he? When he retires, that's for sure.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's tarnished himself now by going down there. But there you go. That's one of those things.
He has, mate. I'm actually with you as well. Last one of the night comes in from Simon Paul. He says Trossard got a hat-trick at Anfield and scored at City for Brighton this season. He deserves a chance. I don't know why he didn't really get a chance, if I'm honest. He got player of the month in March, and I never saw him again for the rest of the season, really. He come on a couple of appearances. I thought it was a bit harsh, if I'm honest.
I think he done well, Dan, considering he come in at the latter part of the season. I think there's a player there. I don't think he's going to hit the heights of a Martinelli or a Saka, but for what he does on the tin, I think he's going to do a very, very good job for us. And, you know, one of those players that's going to cover. And I'm quite looking forward to seeing what he's going to be like with a pre-season under his belt as well. Like, you know, I mean, he came in at the end of last season, or the latter part of the season, when it was a difficult time for us as well. And I felt he he showed up.
Yeah, likewise, man. Probably one of the signings of January, Daniel, wasn't he? To be fair, Trossard.
Yeah. I think Trossard is sort of he's come under the radar. When he was signed, people were still suffering from the whole Mudryk debacle, but we signed the right player. Trossard's coming. And to be honest, if he hadn't had hit the bar against Southampton, it had gone in. We probably could have gone on to win the league, because I still look at that moment and think if that had gone in, we probably would have gone on and won the league. But it just it just wasn't meant to be. But yeah, I think Trossard. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on in the Champions League in those big moments, because he's a big moment player, a bit like Havertz. They turn up in the big games, don't they? So it'd be interesting to see how he gets on in Champions League.
Yeah, it will. It really will. Well, we're going to leave it there. Absolute pleasure having you on, Daniel. I know you're doing your channel still, Daniel Bailey TV, so we'll make sure that we put that in the description, get people over to subscribe to it. What you got coming up, mate?
Yeah, so I actually took a little bit of a break because I had some health issues going off the back end of last season. Had a bit of heart trouble and stuff. So I took a bit of a break, and then I took a bit of a deciding what I wanted to do the channel. But yeah, in July I've got some great content coming up. I'm not going to share what it is because it's going to be big. But yeah, I've got some great content coming up. So yeah, stay tuned, as they say.
Brilliant, man. Make sure you get yourself over there to Daniel Bailey TV. That would be amazing. Always a pleasure speaking to you, Dan, and of course to you, Lee, as well. Dave's put in the chat there.
That. It's good to be back. Like, we're going to start doing a bit more regular stuff now, like especially with all these deals coming on and all that. So like keep a look out. If anything happens, we'll be straight over onto it. And looking forward to it, So listen, it's a good time to be following the Arsenal at the moment, isn't it? That's how I look at it. It's been a good season last season, like good foundations built. Let's build on it now. Let's put the house on it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to keep going. Do us a favor, people. Make sure you smash a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe. We want to try and get up to 40k for this transfer period. This is our next target, so make sure that you help us along the way with that. If you could do me a huge favor, in about 20 minutes time, I'm going to be on my channel talking all things transfer for a late night roundup on Football's 12th Man podcast, which is my channel. And I'm literally a couple of hundred away from 10k. So if you can come over and help me, that would be amazing, people. I'll see you at 10:30 for those of you that are joining. We'll see you next time. My thanks to Dan, my thanks to Lee, my thanks to you all for watching. Smash a like on your way out. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you next time up the Arsenal. Take care, people.